Hey guys, it's M4J here and welcome back to M4J Transport here on Cities in Motion 2. Today we are doing something quite big. It's actually been a little while since I last played the game. I'm recording the audio for this the same day I recorded the video, so it's fresh in my mind. But it's been something like 2.5 weeks, maybe even longer, since I last played the game. Since the last 4 or so episodes were all recorded in the same day. But that doesn't make sense. Maybe it's been 2 weeks or 3 weeks since I last played the game. Something like that. It's been a long time, that's what I'm trying to say. So I was a little out of practice. So I thought I'd ease myself back into it by doing possibly one of the largest construction projects I've done so far in this series. It's not as big as something dense like New Tram Square, or even the rebuild of New Tram Square, but it's fairly dense in terms of just how much has actually been achieved in this build today, and also what that means for the future of the series in terms of City West. And I'm starting to give away some clues. I'm trying not to give away too many, but essentially you can see here I'm building the bus rapid transit. I can't speak. I don't know what it is at the moment. I can't get my sentences out properly. I keep tripping over my words. But yeah, we're getting the bus rapid transit and the trolley rapid transit set up to the Rathaus hub. And they'll be approaching from the north. And currently I've not got any plans for where they're going to go from there. So originally I was just going to do the bus rapid transit in this episode. Then I thought actually it would make more sense if I started with that and then expanded it into something a bit more ambitious. So here I'm just extending the east end of the new rapid transit link to the existing infrastructure. I decided to do it via these sort of slip junctions. So instead of the big plus junction that I was talking about doing before, I thought it would actually be easier if I just did it this way. And it should make sure that the vehicle speed remains fairly constant throughout the junction as well. So you can still access this new chord from the north and the south. And it's one of these deceptive things, because I thought I'd have to build the junction south of New Tram Square, and it turns out I'm building it just south of the hub, just before the metro and the monorail cross the river into the North Island. So I always lose my bearings a little bit on this map, with where all the hubs are in relation to the overall map. So New Tram Square is actually a lot further south than I keep thinking. But this ties in nicely because I added this extra bus rapid transit stop here, and I thought whilst I was doing that I would actually add in a PreMetro station here as well, and that's what has eventually inspired this episode. If you're watching this episode, then you know what the title is, so you can kind of see what is going to be happening for the rest of this episode now. It's Rise of the Shogun. We are building a new PreMetro line. This metro line, PreMetro line, whichever way you want to call it, like I said, it's probably the most ambitious single project that I've undertaken in this series. I'm very, very happy with how it turned out. I'm also very, very happy that the game behaved itself enough to let me actually build it in a single episode, or in a single go, I should say, rather than having to exit the game and come back in. And I'm also very pleased with how this little section here works. So the bus rapid transit and the PreMetro both have stops in the exact same location, and yet when they get to the Rathaus, one approaches from the south and the other approaches from the north. The rapid transit approaches from the north and the PreMetro approaches from the south, which I think is quite an interesting way of doing things, because let's say you're a regular commuter in this city. You might accidentally stumble across that fact one day when you decide to take the PreMetro instead of the bus, or vice versa. Because you know, sometimes when I'm in London, instead of just taking the usual routes, I like to do something a little bit different. And I've discovered new things about the transport infrastructure in London. So you can imagine citizens of this city doing the same thing. And again, originally I was just going to build the PreMetro as far as the Rathaus and maybe a little bit further to the north and then leave it. But I was kind of looking at the clock, and I was also looking at the fact that it has been a while since I played the game. It makes sense to do a big build to get back into the swing of things. So I thought, why not build the entire line? Those of you that have been watching the series the whole way through, you will see a couple of callbacks as we build this line. You'll also notice there's been a few requests for things like elevated metro tracks, ground-based metro tracks. I think there was a request for that. And also the idea of mixing the rapid transit with the PreMetro, which you have seen now at the Rat House. That is cemented in place. The rapid transit will have a direct interchange, cross-platform interchange, in fact, with the PreMetro at the Rat House. But you'll notice that I have been reading your comments. I haven't replied directly to all of them necessarily. There have been some where I've given a thumbs up or hit the heart button, whatever it might be. But I do read every single comment, and believe me, every single piece of advice or request, it all gets stored away. There's a nice little notepad file that I have, plus the episode plans, plus a couple of other things here and there, and my own memory, where I do store these things away. They never get forgotten, they will always be used. So for those of you that have been requesting for quite some time now about elevated metro tracks, and also extending the PreMetro and the bus rapid transit into City West, this video is essentially for you. The Shogun is rising, and it's a real beaut. You will also see some bits of the city that I have built the stations in advance, not built the rest of the infrastructure yet. Like, there's no roads. In some cases there's no ground connection at all. It's literally, I've built a station, added some stops, and that's it. It's all pre-planning, because eventually the city will grow around those areas. There is one little section of track that I will be rebuilding in the future to a design that I came up with a little while ago, and I've sort of been looking for an excuse to use it, and I think this new line is that excuse. It's either this one or the southern connection, because we are using one of the two remaining connections at New Tram Square for the PreMetro. Obviously there's the slow and the fast, they both count as one. So there is one more set of platforms that we can use at New Tram Square. So it might be the southern connection that actually has this idea, or it might be parts of the northern connection. We'll see about that. And you'll also notice, I think it's this Spartan Line. Was it Spartan Line or the Centurion Line, which runs to the north? You'll notice that crop up again as well towards the end of this episode. So I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to let the music take over. I do just want to say though, once again, those of you that have left requests about Metro and PreMetro, hopefully you guys notice now that I have been taking on board your comments and your feedback. I will talk in a little bit's time, maybe an episode or two's time, about something that people have been saying in the comments as well regarding trams and road intersections, because I feel like it's an interesting topic that's worth talking about in its own episode almost, rather than trying to crowbar it into this one. So stay tuned for that. And the other thing, oh yeah, the name suggestions. I have actually got the list open now, and I am loving these suggestions. It is still the same people, and again, I'm not discouraging those people. Please do keep leaving your ideas, because I think they're fantastic. But it would be nice to see some new names on that list as well. So if you're new to the channel, for example, or if you're just new to this particular series, there is a interactions page on m4jmedia.com. That website will get overhauled in the very near future as well, by the way, so it won't look as ugly as it does at the moment. I mean, it's not completely ugly, it's just bits that I would very obviously change. But if you go on there, go onto the interactions page, go on the Cities in Motion 2 page, you will see a massive now name suggestions list. It's looking very, very full indeed. Add your name there, add your ideas, add the notes. Don't be upset or offended if I put something in my own little notes column asking you to clarify some things. It's normally just so that when I mention it in a video, I can talk a little bit more about where your idea comes from, what the origins were, as well as what you want me to do with it as well. So where you want it to be in the city, what type of line you want it to be on, whether it's based on a real life example, that kind of thing. So feel free to do that. I'd love to see some more new names. And I will talk a little bit more next episode or the episode after about the future of this series as well. So until then guys, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and of course if you enjoyed the series, drop some comments down below. Always nice to read comments from people about this series, whether it's positive or negative. I mean, I prefer positive, I think everyone does, but negative is also very, very beneficial. And in fact there's been stuff in this series that has come about because of negative comments. So don't feel like you have to be positive all the time. If there's something that you do think needs improving, please, please, please do let me know. Besides that, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button. If you have already subscribed to the channel, thank you guys for your continued support. Enjoy the time lapse, enjoy the music, and until next time, I will see you soon.